Well, hello everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants, and welcome to our webinar on your online MBA. It starts here. We have three terrific programs with representatives from each. Let me introduce our guest today, and you're going to find out everything you need to know and then some about what an online MBA experience might be. And what's really interesting here is I think you'll find that one online MBA is not equal to another, that there are bells and whistles to some and some significant differences across the board. And we'll get into that nitty-gritty as we get into our session. From Northeastern University's D'Amore-McKim Business School, we have Haley Hostetter. He's Assistant Director of Northeastern Online. From the University of Massachusetts, the Isenberg School, we have Lara Curtis, who is Director of Recruitment and Marketing Communications. And from Boston University's Questrom School of Business, we have Erin Butt, the Associate Director of Online MBA Admissions. Welcome all. So why don't we just start with Haley? Tell us a little bit about Northeastern, how long your online MBA program has been around. I know it was recently revamped a couple of years ago. So give us a skinny.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, John, and thank you for having us. We're really excited to be here today and talk a little bit more about our program. And you're right, we were actually um, one of the first institutions to launch an online MBA over 15 years ago. Over time, we have continued to evolve the program to make sure that it reflects the realities of today's business world. In what was it, fall of 2022, we did a massive refresh of the program to make sure that our program was addressing, the vast technological changes that are happening out in the wider business world. I guess to talk a little bit more about Northeastern as a whole, we are a top global research university, but I think that what really defines us is our focus on experiential learning. So connecting what you learn in the classroom to real world application. So whether it's through things like industry projects, research, or collaboration with your peers, our goal is to make hands-on learning immediately relevant to you and your career. Our flagship campus is here in Boston, Massachusetts, but we do think of ourselves as a truly global university. With 13 campuses across North America and the UK, we built a network that connects students to opportunities worldwide. And I think that this fits in really well with the idea of online learning. At Northeastern, you don't need to be here in Boston to be part of the community. You can engage with our network, faculty, and your peers, no matter where you are in the world. So excited to talk a little bit more about the program throughout the session today, but I'll pause there and let the others introduce themselves as well.
Great. Lara, let's go with you in UMass at Isenberg.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Don, for having us today. Similar to Northeastern, we have been around for quite a while, creeping up on actually almost close to 25 years in the online space. Our online MBA program is really known for its flexibility. We offer 100% asynchronous classes, which again speaks to the fact that you can continue on that path of your degree, of your career and your work-life balance, as well as coming back into the classroom. Again, similar to Northeastern, and I'm sure BU as well, we are also an R1 institution, University of Massachusetts. We are the flagship campus out here in Amherst. We do actually have, excuse me, a satellite location in downtown Boston. So that's kind of a perk of our online program, where if you are located a little bit closer to the Boston area, you could take advantage of some hybrid courses there that allows you really time to get that a little bit more face-to-face interactions with some of your classmates, some of your professors that you may not necessarily get as easily in an asynchronous program. That being said, we really take advantage of being proud of being that larger UMass family and that UMass campus. And Isenberg graduates of the MBA program are really excited to be part of that world and really kind of connecting both with faculty and staff, as well as that broader community across the world.
In fact, one of my daughters went to UMass for both her undergraduate degree and her master's. So she enjoyed Amherst very much.
It's quite lovely, yes.
It really is. It's a quintessential college town. Um, okay, so Aaron, you have the newest online MBA offering of the three and an unusual one at Questrom.
Absolutely. Yep. So our online MBA program at the Questrom School of Business, which is situated within Boston University, we launched back in 2020. Ironically, not a symptom of the pandemic. We actually already had it in the works before that sort of, landed. So it was just a very well-timed launch. We had quite a lot of interest from the get-go, and we've been steadily scaling up from, I think, an initial class of 250 to entering classes in both fall and spring of about 600 students each. So we've rapidly scaled over the past 5 years, and we're continuing to see amazing interest and excitement around our program. As I mentioned, we are situated within the Questrom School of Business. Our sort of motto and sort of driving mission statement is creating value for the world. And I think that's something we infuse from the get-go in our online MBA program and the rest of our programs in our Questrom portfolio. We are part of the greater Boston University community as well. No surprise, as the name would suggest, we are right in the middle of Boston, Massachusetts as well. And it's amazing to sort of see how the online MBA community has integrated into the larger Questrom community and the Boston University community, especially given our standing and reputation as a top 50 business school and Boston University's sort of global reputation and international reputation for being a top research institution. So we are very fortunate to sort of be situated within those two larger communities as the online MBA program.
Now, Aaron, when BU started its online MBA program, it literally took out a blank sheet of paper and said, "What should a modern MBA program look like?" Can you describe the curriculum and the nature of it?
Absolutely. So this MBA program, the online MBA at Questrom, was really designed to be market disrupting, not only in its affordable cost of $25,000 for the whole program, but also in the way the curriculum was designed. We are a program primarily designed for mid-career professionals with an average of 12 to 13 years of experience. And so we wanted to build a curriculum from the ground up that sort of mirrored how that type of student and professional was engaging with everyday business challenges in their work. And that is in an interdisciplinary fashion. So rather than taking all your individual core curriculum and elective curriculum courses in sort of a siloed fashion, we decided to take that core curriculum from our existing MBA programs and then elements of elective curriculum from the existing MBA programs and fuse it into these 6 interdisciplinary modules. So every student in our online MBA program takes the same 6 modules. It's focused on key themes that drive business challenges today. So a few modules, just to throw out examples, would be managing performance with data, leveraging global opportunities, fostering an innovative mindset, all sort of key skills that you need in your toolkit to be a successful business professional. And so you're examining these things side by side. You're looking at the issues in an integrated fashion, just as you would at work. When you reach a certain level, you're not just focusing on accounting today, and then tomorrow I'll work on my marketing, and then I'll do my operations the next day. Like, it's all happening together at once. And so that's how we wanted students to be able to learn these business concepts and frameworks, and also put them into practice immediately in their work the next day if they want to. So I think the integrated curriculum, the ROI of that is pretty much immediate. And I think people find that there's a lot more practical applications to their work because it mirrors how they're doing their work. So that was sort of the intention behind our curriculum design.
The other interesting thing about your curriculum is that it is what it is. In other words, there are no electives. It's a straightforward program based on the 6 modules. They're all integrated. They're taught by interdisciplinary professors. So you know exactly what you're going to get.
Mhm.
Right? So
Yep.
now UMass, Lara, what are the options in your online program?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a little bit more of that traditional structured curriculum. So we offer 11 core classes that all of our students take. And then they have the option to take one elective course to graduate with that general MBA, or they can opt to choose a focus area. Healthcare administration is probably one of our top focus areas. We have a significant number of healthcare professionals in our program. It's actually about a third of our population is active in the healthcare administration, whether they're doctors or just working professionals in that realm. The nice thing about our program is what you see is the same thing as what you're getting in person. There's no distinction between our two programs, that traditional and that online, other than the fact that you have that flexibility with the online space. So 80% of our faculty are the same on campus and online. You have the same curriculum that the on-campus traditional students are getting as well. You just have that, again, that bonus of, hey, I don't have to pause everything that I'm going through and doing in my life, take that time off and go to classes. I can do that and take my classes and continue to move professionally. And the idea there too is, similar to what Erin was saying, is that you're taking those classes, but you're hopefully then applying that in your work and your day-to-day as well. So, you might have come across a particular case study, or you might be able to bring something in from your work into your class, have that conversation or use that as a topic for a paper or an assignment, and be able to bring that back, and hopefully obviously use that as leverage as you're moving up in your career. Most of our students are not necessarily career pivoting, but they are obviously looking for that advancement, and so they're going through that actively in their career while they're also simultaneously going through and getting that MBA program.
Right. That's great. And Haley, give us a sense of how the program was revamped 3 years ago and why.
Yeah. Like I think I kind of alluded to earlier on in the presentation, there's been a ton of changes. The coming of AI, like what does that mean for the future of the business landscape? I think that's a big piece of what our program and our faculty are thinking about these days. We actually recently, last year, added a artificial intelligence concentration and focus area for students to be able to take, which is focused specifically for folks in the business world that are interested in figuring out how they can apply AI today and as it continues to become a large part of our work over the next few years. So we're constantly adapting our curriculum to match, the needs of the future business world, not just what people are going to need today. To talk a little bit more about the wider curriculum, it is 100% online and asynchronous, so students can work through the required coursework on their own time whenever works best for them. That said, we do know that connection matters, so we do offer optional live sessions and office hours for anybody looking to engage more directly with their fellow classmates and faculty. I think what makes our program really stand out is the focus on experiential learning. We have dedicated expo courses, which is short for experiential. Everyone in the program is required to take at least 2 of these expo courses, and they center around real business projects. So I think Erin and Laura both already alluded to this, but the idea of instead of learning concepts in isolation, you're able to apply them to real world challenges from day one. I kind of think of the expo course as instead of a project developed within a class, it's a whole class developed around a project. So it's kind of a unique experience for our students. I would say flexibility as a whole is also a big part of the design. So our courses run in 7.5-week terms, and you can start in any one of our 6 intake periods throughout the year. Plus, about 2/3 of our curriculum are electives, which gives you the ability to shape your curriculum based off of your personal goals, where you want to be, whether that's in topics like AI, finance, data, healthcare, or entrepreneurship. So I think at the end of the day, it's a program that's built for working professionals that are looking for that flexibility while still maintaining a hands-on practical education that they can immediately put to use.
So, Haley, let's stay with you. Let's say you have a person who definitely knows he or she wants an MBA, but they're uncertain about whether to go online and keep their job or to quit their job and to go full time. What kind of framework do you advise that they go through? What kind of thinking should they consider to determine which route is better for them?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great question and definitely something that um, some of our students are asking themselves, or prospective students. I mean, I think at the end of the day, or prospective students should sit down and think about their goals. So what are you hoping to get out of the program? Obviously, there's pros and cons to both. I would say there's no right or wrong answer. It's really what fits your personal lifestyle the best. Of course, the in-person programs give you that tangible in-person, human to human experience that we all is a very valuable part of an MBA experience. An online program gives you that flexibility, especially for folks that are working, that have family obligations, that maybe don't live as close to their campus. So, maybe you're really interested in Northeastern or BU or UMass specifically, but maybe you live in New Jersey. An online program gives you the opportunity to still come to one of our programs despite where you're located. So I think being able to sit down and come to a conclusion about what you're really hoping to get out of a program helps you start making those decisions about what kind of program is best for you, online or in person. And like I said, I really don't think there's a right or wrong answer. It just comes down to what's going to be best for you and your career.
Yeah, true. I think that if you want to pivot, typically it's easier to do so from a full-time MBA program where you have an internship and there's a flow of recruiters who come through the school. Although more online MBA students are finding that they can actually pivot with an online MBA degree. And when I say pivot, I mean go into a new industry, a new company, even a new discipline and a new geography, one or all of those. The other thing, obviously, an online MBA program is less expensive because you have no opportunity cost. You're continuing to work, so you don't have to give up your income. And the great thing has been already cited here by several of you is that you can immediately apply what you learn in the classroom, which is extremely helpful. Lara, what do you think people give up when they go online? Do they give up bonding? Because I think a lot of people think, well, one of the sacrifices I might have to make is I won't bond as deeply with my classmates or the faculty. What do you find at Isenberg?
No, it's a really great point, right? And question. I think that goes back to what Haley was saying as you kind of navigate that pros and cons list and kind of compare, contrast, right? Do you want that traditional in-person or do you want that online program? I think we could all agree that the traditional in-person human experience is very difficult to 100% replicate in the online space, right? But we all do as best as we can. And so I think although our classes are asynchronous, to be able to provide that flexibility and navigate your own day-to-day, we have, similar to what Haley was talking about with Northeastern, we have live sessions, we have office hours for our classes. Our students are able to connect with their peers in our LMS system. We have what we call just our online MBA hub. It's not a course, it's actually just a space where advisors and staff of the program can connect with the students and each other. It's an opportunity for us to really kind of also showcase different events, connect them with our career services, things of that nature, and they can connect with each other. We do offer, similar to our on-campus students, our online students are always welcome to come to any of our events, whether they are in person or virtual. So we have a number of students that take advantage of that, particularly those that are either located out here in Western Mass or, we take advantage of that satellite location in Boston. So I think it's, as a prospective student looking for that human touch point with their classmates, it's still possible in an online space. I think you have to really think about, though, is that like your number one thing that you want out of a program, right? And have that, dialogue with each other in the class and that discourse and being able to, take side conversations into a group study and break down what you just talked about in a class space. That's not necessarily going to be 100% replicable in the online space. But if you want to still be able to connect with your peers and I was just talking, actually, our alum who was on the panel yesterday, When we talked last week, he said, as an engineer coming into an MBA program, I was so excited to learn from someone from healthcare or someone from a traditional finance, background or marketing, and you're still able to make those cross, department or discipline connections and be able to use that to your advantage in your own work, but also then maintain those connections as you move forward and hope, as you graduate from the program.
Yeah, that's very true. Erin, you might talk about the diversity of your student body in the online program. It's grown immensely. And because of the price point, I think that you tend to attract more international students than most online MBA programs in the US. Am I right?
That is right. I'm not sure necessarily about other programs in the US, but we typically sort of oscillate between at least 20 and 25% of our student population being international. And I think that's something that a lot of our students actually cite as a huge advantage of our program, as opposed to being geographically bound by an in-person MBA and, likely people that live in that regional area. We have students coming from over 65 different countries in our program, which is amazing to get not only diversity of industry, as Lara was saying, but also diversity of your sort of country and background and things like that. So we're thrilled that we have so many students from basically every time zone coming into our program, particularly because we do sort of employ a mandatory live session synchronous component in our program. We were designed to be very high touch. That was also a very intentional design choice because we wanted to, as Lara sort of alluded to, replicate the in-person experience as much as we could within the confines of an online format. So for us, that meant maintaining the same sort of quality of faculty. 100% of our faculty teach in our on-campus MBAs, as well as the online MBA. We have the mandatory live sessions, so you don't have to attend every single week, but about half the sessions throughout the semester. That's 2 hours out of your week where you know that you're going to be able to connect with your classmates, with your teammates for that module, with the learning facilitators in that module who are providing academic support to you, and with the professors, the teaching team. So you know that you're going to have that touch point throughout every single module and every single semester, at least half of the weeks. And we encourage students to attend every single week if they're able. We know that flexibility is key and not everyone's going to be able to attend every single week, but it is definitely encouraged if possible. And yeah, we pride ourselves, I think, on the fact that there are so many different students who are so excited to connect in an online space. We've had a number of students who have told us that they actually networked more in their online MBA, in their grad program than they did in their undergraduate experience on campus. So I think one thing in our program structure that really aids that and helps that along is the student affinity groups that we have. Those are just sort of like any club or organization you'd find on a college campus, but they are completely student run and student led. And we have over 50 different groups, which I think speaks to how eager our students are to connect with each other, to network. These groups are industry-based, they're identity-based, they are geographically based. So a lot of students will meet up in their metro area or city. And some of those groups are even international-based groups. And some are just fun interest-based groups, people who want to get together and talk about sports teams, people who want to get together. I heard one group potentially being formed like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign group. Everyone is just so excited to meet each other, to form those connections professionally and personally, which I think enriches our experience and the connections that you sort of form with people across the globe in our program.
The research shows that the vast majority of online MBA programs tend to draw within a 150-mile radius of a given school's campus, even when there are no in-residence sessions required. So it's very unusual to have 20 to 25% internationals in an online MBA. So Erin, how many intakes do you have? Because part of the flexibility of many online MBA programs is you don't have to wait to the fall to enter. And I think it was Haley who earlier said they have 6 intakes at D'Amore-McKim. How many do you have at Questrom?
Yeah, we have just 2. So we do a January intake and we do an August intake. It used to be that our fall intake tended to be a little bit larger at around 600 students, and the spring was a bit smaller due to program demand. We, are pretty much bringing in 600 in both terms. And with the sort of way that the admission cycle works, we find that usually people who come to us at any point in the cycle don't really have to wait more than a few months to sort of start the program. And we have a really wonderful sort of yield process that allows those students to get excited, get familiar with our program. We host a number of events so students can get to know their incoming classmates. We have a Facebook group where people can connect. And we host a bunch of events and programming to get people excited. So the August and the January tends to work pretty well for our program, at least, while still providing a little bit of structure in the admissions process, and flexibility so that people can put enough thought and time into their application, and put forth sort of a strong candidacy for the application.
Great. Now, typically, a student needs to expect to spend up to 20 hours a week in an online MBA program. Is that true with yours, and how long does it take to complete?
Excellent question as well. Good to get into the nitty-gritty of the logistics as well. So for our program at Questrom, the Online MBA has a very flexible timeline to completion. We also have 3 academic semesters per year, the spring, summer, and fall. So with our 6 modules, if you can do the math there, the fastest timeline to completion would be 2 years, which is pretty impressive considering that it is a part-time program by design. Usually you think of an MBA full-time as 2 years, but our program part-time can be completed in 2 years as well. Students have up to 6 years to complete it though. So it's really a program designed to be flexible, fit into your life rather than work against it. Our students can take leaves of absence at any point throughout the semester, which I think in undergrad, people think like, oh, that's withdrawing and that's scary and it's bad. But in a flexible graduate online program, it is number one, it is paramount to make sure that our students can complete this on their terms, within a certain timeline, of course. So students may take the summers off to spend time with their family, which is more than okay. Our people working in accounting may not want to be studying during the spring semester and tax season. Just however it makes sense to fit this program into and around your life, while still being sure to commit the roughly 15 to 20 hours a week of work. That is sort of how you design your timeline, I guess. And you work with a student success specialist to determine when it may make sense for you to take a leave of absence. A lot of people just do it straight through in the 2 years. They're like, I want to get it done. But it's important to remember and consider that although it is a part-time program and although it is flexible, it is rigorous and it's still a demanding graduate MBA program. So we are also heavily teaming based, which means that you will need to meet with teams, often across time zones, in our program. And that's not meant to scare anybody, of course, but rather to emphasize the fact that in global business, you're going to often have to do that. It's sort of like a crash course lesson in, learning how to deal in global business and having a team that really relies on you to get a project done. So you're placed into these teams every module to do a capstone project for that module. So your 15 to 20 hours a week is going to be the live session for 2 hours, as I mentioned, some individual asynchronous work you'll do on your own time, some meetings with your small teams each week to make progress on that capstone, and then potentially office hours with the learning facilitators who again are sort of subject matter experts, industry experts that provide additional academic support in the modules. So that's sort of a nice wrapped up 15 to 20 hour estimate of our program each week.
And Lara, at Isenberg, how many intakes do you have? What's the expected workload per week, and how long does it take to complete the degree?
Yeah, so we offer 3 intakes a year, fall, spring, and summer. The nice thing is that we actually offer 4 semesters, I'm going to say kind of loosely, for classes. So we also offer a winter session for classes, but you can't start in the winter. So students are able to complete the program in as quickly as 2 years if they would like that. That takes advantage of fall, winter, spring, and summer. Although fall and spring are the only 2 required semesters in the program. If you do want to take a leave of absence during fall or spring, you're able to do so. You just work with your academic advisor and make sure that paperwork is in place so that you can come back and pick up again the next semester. We also offer significant time for completion, knowing that, again, these are working individuals and professionals. And so oftentimes work gets in the way or life just gets in the way. And so you have up to 5 years to complete the program. On average, it's typically about 3 years. Again, depending if you're taking more of a traditional MBA or if you're adding on that focus area or concentration, which adds on 9 credits to your degree. In terms of workload per week, we're looking at about 10 to 15 hours per week, for our classes. So, it's definitely manageable to take 2 classes a semester. So we do, like I said, we do see more and more students taking advantage of 2 classes a semester and completing it in that quicker timeline. Many of our students say, you know what? that might be nice, but I'm going to take advantage of employee, benefits, and one class this semester is going to max out my education benefits. And so I'm going to ride that out. I'm going to not put anything out of pocket myself, right? Minimal costs, higher ROI on the end. And so they're taking one class this semester, fall, spring, possibly summer if they want, and completing in that more of that 3.5 to 4 year time frame.
Yeah, that's a really good point because that's another element of flexibility. So you have multiple intakes, so you don't have to wait only to the fall in these programs.
Correct.
You have the flexibility of saying, oh, okay, well, I have some family emergency or family obligations that's going to require a bit more of my time, so I can take a little break and then come back. Or maybe you have a really grueling work assignment that demands your full attention, and you can do that and then come back, which is a great thing. And as Laura just pointed out, and this is really true, if your company does offer subsidies for your education, many times there are limits on that. And by spreading it out, you can take full advantage of a company sponsorship by simply moving courses across the time zone so that it's fully paid for by your company, which is a great advantage. Now, Haley, you mentioned McCord-McKim. D'Amore-McKim has 6 different intakes for your online MBA. How long does it take to complete? And is the workload roughly the same, 10 to 20 hours a week?
Yeah, so there are 6 intake periods throughout the year. So you're never too far away from being able to start an OMBA here at Northeastern. As far as course load, we recommend you should expect about 10 to 15 hours per week per course. So I think that gives you a good framework to think about when you're thinking about how many courses you should be registering for each term. The quickest somebody can complete the program here at Northeastern is 18 months. Although similar to everyone else here, you do have up to 7 years. So there's a lot of flexibility for our students to decide how to make this program work for their lives. I would say on average, our students are taking 2 to 3 years to complete the program. And the main reason for this variance is, again, we are personal bandwidth for our students. We try to make our program as flexible as possible so that our adult learners can make the program work for them. So whether that's taking 1 class per term and really taking your time as you're managing work or family responsibilities or staying under a certain budget, we're happy to help work with you. If you do want to complete in that 18-month turnaround time, there are a few terms where you will have to take 3 classes in a term, which I will say is a bit of an accelerated experience. So it's something you should be aware of, especially if you are working full-time. But like the others said, we also have a dedicated success team for our program. So there will be people you can talk to about how to build out a graduation timeline. And then if you need to make changes along the way, because we know life happens, that is certainly available to you.
Hey, Haley, one of my favorite things to do when I visit a campus is to sit down with students at a bar and have a beer with them and ask this question. What are the 3 things about the program that stood out most to you that will endure long after your graduation? If I were to ask the students at D'Amore-McKim that question in the online MBA program, Haley, how would they answer me?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think off the top of my head, I would say our admissions process, which I'm happy to talk about. It's a little bit of a unique opportunity for students to join the program. The expo or experiential elements of our program, and then that access to wider employer partners, our global campus. So to talk a little bit about each for our admissions, as of last year in 2024, we launched what we call performance-based admissions, which is an alternative admissions pathway into the program. So if students are looking to join our online MBA, they're welcome to apply via our standard application, which is probably what you all think of when you think of a traditional graduate school application, where you go and fill out an application portal, you submit letters of recommendation, transcripts, a resume, all of that. But we were really seeing on our end, we were losing a bunch of really talented, promising applicants through our application process. It's just a lot of steps, especially for working professionals that are busy, maybe struggling to get letters of recommendation if you've been a stay-at-home mom for the last 15 years, but now you're ready to go back and upskill and move back into the working world. Maybe your undergraduate career when you were 18, maybe you weren't taking school as seriously as you wish now that you're 35, 40, and you've moved up the career ladder, but looking for that one thing at like a graduate program to help you move to that next level, which is really what brought us to performance-based admissions, which is instead of evaluating you on historical metrics, we are evaluating you based off of your current academic potential. So what that means is you fill out what we call a FASTAT, which is a short form that takes in your basic contact information, and then you attesting that you do indeed have a conferred bachelor's degree. And then you're able to automatically move into taking 2 OMBA courses. So we call them pathway courses, but they are part of the wider OMBA curriculum. You will need to take them regardless. And as long as you get a B grade or higher in both of these courses and ultimately send us your bachelor's transcript, that serves as your application into the program. So it's a really streamlined opportunity specifically for adult learners that are looking to be able to jump into what's most important to them, which is upskilling and beginning their education. So I would say that's one of our the things that I think our students, especially in the last year, have really appreciated, not wasting time on their application process and getting to move right into the program. I talked a lot earlier about our experiential learning and our expo courses and how that's really baked into the soul of our entire program. And then lastly is our connection to employer partners and our global campus. Students have multitudes of opportunities to engage, not just online, but in person through networking events, a global field study opportunity if somebody wanted to have a little international experience through our Graduate Career Center. We also offer we call place-based immersions, which are opportunities for students to connect not just with their fellow classmates, but with business leaders. And they're usually centered around one of Northeastern's network campuses. So they aren't always in Boston. 2 examples in the past year, we had one in Portland, Maine, where students were able to have lunch and tour the LL Bean headquarters. We also had one in Seattle, Washington, where we focus primarily on generative AI, and students were able to attend panel sessions with Microsoft and AWS. So lots of opportunities to be able to engage in meaningful and interesting ways throughout your time here at Northeastern.
All right. Now, what would the Isenberg MBAs tell me, Lara?
Yeah, great question. I think for us, I go back to, number one, flexibility. We've talked a lot about the fact that we are asynchronous. You can really, take this program as you need it, right? And that can change from, fall to spring to summer, from year 1 to year 2 to 4. Similarly to Haley, we have the opportunity actually for students to take up to 2 classes before they fully enroll in our program. So it's a nice opportunity for them to, test us out basically, right? Take a class that is going to count towards graduation. You earn that B or better. You can apply that to your curriculum should you decide to enroll. It's also, a pathway along with our certificate programs that you can kind of test the waters, see if this is really something that you can manage and do, and then move on into that program. I think secondly, our high quality curriculum, we've talked a lot about the fact that, Northeastern has revamped, BU had a very distinct way of applying their curriculum when they launched a couple of years ago. We do have that traditional curriculum, but I think what's really important to note is that our elective courses are changing, every single semester based on what's happening in the real world. And our faculty are on top of changes in AI, changes in, the economy and, everything that's going on. And so they're really taking real world scenarios and they're applying them directly into the curriculum. And so, the base lessons may not change necessarily, but how they apply it in the scenarios and the case studies that they're learning are. I think if you ask students from the last year or two, I think you might actually put in career services. It's not necessarily something that's always talked about in online MBA programs. We've been really conscious about bringing the same opportunities to our online students as our on-campus students have with our Office of Career Success. So we actually have a dedicated online MBA career coach for our students. The career coach hosts accountability workshops that you're able to join, and you keep each other accountable for goals and lining, what you're looking to accomplish, whether that is moving up the ladder or moving, as you were talking about earlier, John, possibly pivoting into a different role or a different company. We also have a growing number of online networking events that students can take advantage of. And it's not just networking with other online MBA students, they're networking with 6 to 7 of our other degree programs that are either online or on campus. And so you're getting that broader Isenberg community, and you can even then take advantage of that broader UMass community as well.
Right. And the 3 things at Questrom that students would highlight, Erin?
Sure. I'm a visual person, so for those of you watching at home, I actually have it matches my background too, a beautiful little triangle of the 3 things that I think our students value the most from the Questrom Online MBA. So the first thing at the top here would be the innovation and the innovative curriculum. We did not want to provide our online students with a watered down MBA. That's not to say that, an on-campus MBA is watered down, but we didn't want it to feel like we were just repackaging our on-campus MBA for the mid-career learner. We wanted to design something different that was for them. And for us, that innovation looks like the modular format, the capstone projects, the blend of synchronous and asynchronous learning, the maintenance, I guess, of high quality faculty and instructors in our program, and having it be just sort of the streamlined 6 modules while making sure that our students are still walking away with those key business skills. And innovation doesn't just mean for us the model that we built back in 2019. It means continuous innovation. I think Laura sort of mentioned this with the Isenberg program, but Questrom, behind the scenes, we have a director of program innovation and an entire team and council of faculty that are constantly working to make updates to our curriculum to ensure that our students are walking away with the most relevant and in-demand business skills for an MBA and for business professionals. So that's sort of the innovation point of the triangle. Next, you have the BU brand over here, I guess. BU, Boston University, is an internationally recognized and respected university and name. When you say, I have my MBA from Boston University, that carries some weight behind it. And I think that's why a lot of people come to us initially, is because they know that Boston University, they're going to get a high quality education. And associated with that is also the alumni network that comes with Boston University. We have 350,000 living alumni. Within the online MBA program, we have alumni from over 75 different countries, and we're only 5 years old. So that alumni network is high quality. It is global in nature. And I think people, even in the online MBA program, have been very intentional and excited about the opportunity to connect with that very diverse and high quality alumni network and BU brand to associate themselves with that. Has been very beneficial. And then the third point of the triangle over here would be the cost, the affordability. As I mentioned, it is $25,000. This is in 2025, November, if you're watching, subject to change. But at present, $25,000 for the entire program. Oftentimes people have to go into a lot of debt, take out loans to get a graduate degree, let alone an MBA. That ticket price can be quite expensive. We wanted to sort of democratize that to make a high quality MBA that is also flexible, affordable. And Dan Gifford, who was our alum that spoke on the panel yesterday, he told us, the MBA paid itself back in 18 months before I'd even finished the program. Within 18 months, I had a new job offer. I had partial employer reimbursement, and I paid a little bit out of pocket, I think maybe. But it paid itself back. He had a higher salary, a new title. In a recent survey, we had almost 50% of our students say that they could directly attribute that monetary investment they'd made to a new job, a promotion, a salary increase. Not to mention the sort of immediate ROI we mentioned of being able to apply what you're learning right away. So I think the affordability mixed with the ROI of the program is something that our students, from a practical standpoint, have really, really valued. So yeah.
That's great. Now, most people get an MBA, obviously are getting it for the skills that will be instilled in them, and for the job opportunities. But a key part of getting an MBA is graduating into a network that is supportive of you and helpful throughout your entire professional career. So I wonder, Erin, we'll start with you. How does Questrom foster a sense of community and create that network in an online environment?
Of course. So I talked a little bit earlier, of course, about the affinity groups. That's sort of while you're in the program. They are student run, student led, all of that great stuff. And, we've had different in-person meetups come of those. We've had an entrepreneurship focused group come of that, where people just do monthly pitch meetings. We've had people go into business together from the program, which is really incredible. So it's both a personal and professional community. And those groups are, of course, completely optional, right? You get out of it what you put into it. If you are here to just earn your MBA, do the teaming assignments, and walk out the door with your certificate, with your MBA degree, that's perfectly okay, right? It's not for everybody, but for people who are really looking to maximize the community building in our program, we have that infrastructure there. And then once you graduate, we have a number of different both systems and staff members who are in charge of facilitating and maintaining strong connections amidst our OMBA community. So we have our Assistant Director of Student Success, who is amazing and has headed up our OMBA Alumni Council. So although we are a newer program, I mentioned we have a very robust alumni network. We have a council of alumni who have put on programming specifically for OMBA alumni students. We have an open house twice a year where people can come together in person. I should note, all students, whether you're a current student or alumni, you are able to come attend any events in person on campus that are not population restricted. So an example of that would be we hosted the CEO of Taco Bell here at Questrom a couple months ago. We just had the global brand officer from LVMH, which is the Louis Vuitton parent company. So OMBAs in the area, or who want to fly in, drive in, train in, whatever, they can come to those events as well. So there are plenty of opportunities, especially for people regionally, to come and engage in person on campus with the BU community. So I have our Assistant Director of Student Success working on the OMBA alumni initiatives. And about just 2 years ago, we hired our first Director of Alumni Engagement in our Career Center. And my job is to actually work closely with her and sort of be a liaison between the online MBA community and with the greater Questrom community to ensure that OMBAs are included in greater Questrom alumni councils, initiatives, events, things like that, that they're being represented in that community. Just because OMBAs typically don't have access to the career services offered to the rest of the residential students, but it is important that they are sort of integrated into the greater Questrom alumni community. So my colleague Dee and I work to sort of foster those connections between the online students and the residential students to ensure that any Questrom related or BU related events for alumni include our OMBAs as well.
Great. Okay. Well, Lara, how about at Isenberg? How do you foster a sense of community?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned briefly earlier that we have through our LMS system our Online MBA hub, which is as soon as you're admitted into the program, you have access to that. It's an opportunity to connect with your incoming cohort, that you can engage with staff members, the director of the program, the associate dean, your career coach, etc. So it's kind of one virtual space where you're able to connect with each other. Similarly to Erin, we do have a number of networking events, both in person and virtual, and they're more than welcome to come to anything on campus. When we host events in Boston, we have a large number of online MBA students that attend those events because they happen to be in the Boston area to begin with. We also foster a lot of fun events, social engagements here on campus. And we have students that are in the area that will come in and they'll take part in trivia night or master's mixers or things of that sort. Again, so we're kind of trying to bridge the gap between all of our different graduate programs. So, we don't have necessarily a significant number of online MBA specific events because we are looking at Isenberg in general and Isenberg graduate programs. Our online MBA program is quite large. So we have about about 1,400 students in the program currently, and we've been that large for quite some time. So you can imagine being, an online space for about 25 years. We have a very large alumni network that when you graduate, you become a part of. And hopefully your daughter feels the same way, but when you graduate UMass, you feel UMass pride through and through for the rest of your life. And so you can run into somebody in the airport wearing a UMass sweatshirt, and even though you were in the online program, you're like, hey, I went to UMass as well, and strike up that conversation. And we have alumni that come back and they engage with our students through alumni speakers and classes. They take advantage of different excuse me, excuse me, business leaders that are coming to campus and doing different events. We have an executive in residence every year. So there's a lot of opportunities for our students to get involved both in the online space as well as on campus.
Haley, describe networking at D'Amore-McKim.
Yep, definitely. I think we all know that a sense of community and networking is important in any MBA experience, regardless of modality. So we really do try to bake in networking and getting to know your fellow classmates in the wider Northeastern community as much as possible in our program. I really liked what Erin said earlier, and I totally agree. The idea of it really is what you put into it. I think earlier in this presentation, we had the question about, in-person versus online programs. And I think one of the things about online programs is to get that sense of community or getting really fruitful networking experiences, you really have to put yourself out there a little bit and have to be prepared for that kind of a thing. It's not as natural necessarily as an in-person opportunity. So being prepared for that, feeling comfortable, joining a Zoom call where maybe you don't know everybody or speaking up in class is really important. A couple ways that we try to build community within our program here at D'Amore-McKim. So I talked a little bit about the weekly Faculty Connect sessions. So these are 1-hour live Zoom calls that are hosted by your professor for every one of your classes. They are optional, so you don't have to attend every week, but it is an opportunity specifically for you to get to know your fellow classmates more, your professor more, and to dive deeper into course material together as a community. I also think that maybe underrated, but some of the most important connections that you'll meet within any MBA program are your fellow classmates. So, through things like the Faculty Connect sessions or the dreaded group projects or expo courses, these are opportunities for you to get to know the people that you'll be making these strong connections within the MBA program, but will carry on with you for years and years beyond graduation. We also do have a dedicated Slack channel specifically for our online MBA students. As a program, this is a place where we can give you reminders like it's time to register for spring and things like that. But it's also an opportunity. It's a dedicated space for our students to engage with each other and however you prefer. So we kind of leave that open to our students to be able to use. And then again, networking events both in person and online. We do truly believe that our online MBA students are part of the Northeastern community. So that also means you have access to all of our campus resources, both here in Boston and at all of our network campuses across the world. So you can come and get a Husky card and study in the library or attend an on-campus event or meet with your dedicated career advisor here on campus or virtual. It's totally up to you. But we want to make you feel as comfortable and as integrated into the community as possible.
That's great. So now each of the schools have great websites and great detail on each of their online MBA programs. Before I ask you if someone is interested, what should they do? How should they contact you or a member of your staff? I want to ask if any of the programs require a standardized test for admission. I don't think that they do, but correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody have a standardized test requirement?
We have waivers in place, and most of our students are able to get those waivers, and that information is on our website.
Great. Yeah. And I think that's incidentally another advantage to an online MBA program. In fact, even more full-time MBA programs have gone test optional or have waivers. Um, but that is a real hurdle to getting a real clue as to your adaptability to a graduate business program that's demanding and rigorous, along with the rest of the application, your recommendation letters, your essays, and an interview, if in fact you do get an interview. So, Haley, let's start with you. If someone wants to reach out, how do they find you and how do they find a member of your team?
Yep, definitely. Well, Um, definitely, if you've made it this far in the webinar, we are so happy that you're still here. And if you do want to learn more about the Northeastern Online MBA or any of our other online programs here, you are welcome to email us. I think the easiest one to remember is online@northeastern.edu. Myself and several team members monitor that inbox, so you typically get a very quick response if you email that inbox. You're also welcome to learn more about our programs on our website, which is also online.northeastern.edu. So if you Google Northeastern Online, it should also pop up. But we definitely hope to hear from you. You can book one-on-one video appointments with us. You can chat via email. We can also text if you prefer that. But we would love to hear from you.
Great. Lara, how do people get in touch with you or a member of your team?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to email our office, the best email address is grad@isenberg.umass.edu. I just want to point out Isenberg is spelled with an I, not an E. Sometimes we do get that confusion. We also, you're more than welcome to check out our website, isenberg.umass.edu. You're able to check out all of our different programs. From there, you're also able to schedule a one-on-one appointment with any member of my team. You can also sign up for our info sessions that we host monthly for our various programs. And you can also email one of our graduate recruitment specialists directly as opposed to the general inbox. But we do check that inbox all the time, daily, many times a day. And we pass it off to one of our team members who will get back to you very quickly.
That's great. And Erin, what's the drill at Questrom if someone wants to reach out?
Yeah, I think we may have the shortest email. That's just going to be omba@bu.edu. If you want to reach out to us with any general inquiries there, like the other schools, we do also host one-on-one virtual advising sessions, which you can sign up for on our website, or you can just email us at omba@bu.edu. I'll get you set up. We also host a number of events each month, both sort of, I guess you could say, more transactional events like info sessions, application tips, webinars. And then we host a lot of student panels as well, so more content-based events as well. And then I also highly, highly encourage you, if you go to our website at bu.edu/Questrom, right there, and go to the Online MBA page, we have a directory of over 150 admissions ambassadors. Those are both current students and alumni you can get in touch with directly to ask them about their experience, right? My job is to sell you the program, in effect. But if you want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth from people who have been through it or are actively going through it, definitely get in touch with some of those ambassadors. You can also filter the directory down by geography. So if you want to talk to someone who lives in your general area, you can filter down by industry. If you want to talk to someone who works in your same industry, definitely encourage you to take advantage of that resource as well as you're doing your research.
Yeah, that's a really good way to get a sense of the program, what the demands are, how you balance your professional and your personal life with an academic one. Great to talk to current students or alumni who just graduated from the program who maybe have a job that you want that you don't have already. So, and let me just say one other thing about what I think a lot of people regret, and that is that they didn't do the program sooner. There's so many things you can put off in your life. An MBA is one of them. But given the flexibility of an online option, this makes it really easy to achieve your degree and continue to work and use the knowledge that you gain during that degree at work to become more noticeable and more impactful. So don't delay. Don't be like everyone else regretting that they wish they had done it years earlier and finally getting around to it. Go for it now. I want to thank each and every one of our panelists. Erin Butt, the Associate Director of Online MBA Admissions at Boston University's Questrom School of Business. Lara Curtis, the Director of Recruitment at the University of Massachusetts Isenberg School of Management. And of course, Haley Hostetter, the Assistant Director of Northeastern Online at Northeastern University's D'Amore-McKim School of Business. Thank you. Thanks for watching.